And I remember that one day, I can't tell you which year, but someplace in that general period, 39, 40, 41, a telephone installer came in and said that he must take the telephone away. And I remember asking why. Whether I asked him or my parents, I don't recall. He said Jews may not have telephones, period. Another incident, we had a maid, a live-in maid. There was maid's quarters in the apartment. That was very usual in those days and those circumstances. And she was told she could no longer be with us. She wanted to take me with her to her village. My parents thought about it, chose not to do that. But maids could not be employed by Jews. So the maid left.
Why would she have taken you to her village?
Well, she thought she would in some way help me, or maybe save me, or maybe protect me, or maybe help me, or raise me in a sense, because there were overtones of problems. I recall rather clearly that as a child of 5 or 6 or so, I wanted to have a bicycle. Not an unusual request for a bicycle for a child of 5 or 6. My parents were certainly in a position to afford a bicycle, or 5. But there was major concern. I didn't understand the concern at the time. I just understood I didn't have a bike. And I probably threw the normal 5-year-old tantrums about it. Later on, I kind of understood that one of the reasons was that in a city, you ride bicycles in the park. And in the city of Budapest, large, urbane, sophisticated as it was, if a child with a yellow star on his chest rode a bike, somebody might have knocked him off the bike, taken the bike, and left him on a curb. And nobody would have really said too much. And my parents thought it was just unsafe. Not unsafe in terms of the kind of problems you might have because of traffic, but just unsafe. I know that when I went to school, the apartment we had was on a corner of a building. You could see down the street if you stood in the bedroom. There was a circular kind of a set of windows. And the street I lived on, my house was at number 13. My school was at number 44. You could see from the 5th floor apartment window at number 13 to number 44. You could almost see the school, which was down the street several blocks. And I didn't know this, but I was told that my father, for example, often would both watch me walk to school and sometimes follow me walking to school because there were some safety concerns that the kid might be knocked into traffic. Nobody would have necessarily said too much if a child aged 6 or 7 with a yellow star would be pushed into traffic, accidentally or deliberately by somebody who was trying to make an incident. Those are certainly things that in some way affected my life as a child, and hindsight is always perfect. Part of what I find fascinating in my own case is that I have very good recollections. But the time that this took place, I didn't have the emotional impact of what this meant. I learned that later. A 6-year-old doesn't understand political realities, doesn't understand various kinds of anti-this or anti-that. To a 6-year-old, in a rather peculiar way, wearing a yellow star makes him an adult. All the adults do. Well, if they do and I don't, I'm a child. If they do and I do, I'm an adult. There's a certain badge of honor. I didn't understand the negative implications of that. To me, to be like an adult, I too have my own yellow star, was an important achievement of sorts. That sounds silly, but we're talking about a 6-year-old child.